There we go. Hello everyone, here for live stream, not live reaction this time, but an anime stream. I tend to do web season. I want to do kind of a full guide, disclosure, review every damn anime. Let's talk about what animes are good, what animes are bad, what animes are really bad. and of course, I do feel this season, as I said even before watching it, there is a weaker season than like last season. Last season was very, very strong. I think this has some really good animes, obviously. The best anime. Everyone knows the best animes. We're gonna come to that way later though. Because what I wanna do here is I wanna cover from Monday to Sunday. So I like doing it, from like a schedule kind of standpoint, right? Going over the Monday shows, Tuesday show, and so on, right? Won't talk that much about, of course, ongoing animes like One Piece or Black Clover, or those kind of animes that we already are aware of, right? Yeah, like they're still pretty good. So anyway, first of all, then I'm gonna go into the first, of course, furry anime. Talking about Murenase Gakuen, right? So a furry anime, which I actually think is a quite good anime. I recommend it. Haven't seen it yet, and I think this anime in particular is an anime that I have started liking more the more I watch it, right? So in the beginning, I was kind of like, yeah, Murenase. But the more I have seen this anime, the more I actually enjoy it. So it's an acquired taste, perhaps to some degree, it's an acquired tasting. But I do think there is more. I think it actually just gets better. I think actually this anime just gets better the more you see. I think the more cat introduced, like the last panda character, last episode, was really fun. Of course, the hyena, Futanari is really fun and so on. And the monkey is really fun. I think the animation got better and better the more the new characters are coming. And in the beginning, it was kind of like, here's the premise. It's like one man and huge amount of furries, and he hates them all. And I was kind of like, meh. But the more they introduce more and more members to their family, like their wolf pack, so to speak, because it's about a wolf girl, right, that wants him to join. She wants to have an inclusive pack, right? Wherever other pack of group of animals or just one animal, she wants to be all animals, right? So basically a harem for him, right? So he has like a harem of all different cute girls, right? Yeah, cat girl and so on, yeah. So, but actually it's an anime that I think is pretty good. The more I watch it, the more I really like it. And again, if you only watch the first episode, I would say you probably won't like. I didn't like it that much. Episode 1 and 2. I think episode 3 first started really annoyed. And episode 4 and 5 I really enjoyed. So I think that anime is becoming better and better for me. So I give it a recommendation. Not a drop anime. I think it's a great anime. Not the best anime this season, but it's good. I think it's good. I think it's one of the better animes this season. Then we have Natsunaga, which is kind of like a coming of age anime, can we call it that? I think it's like a pretty decent anime. I won't go in too much. It's a short anime. It's a shorter form anime, half the screen time. I think it's like, it works. But I don't think it's that. It's just one of those hard animes to talk about. I feel like it's just kind of like an okay anime, to be honest. I'm not like super in favor of it. I'm not super against it either. I want to feel kind of indifferent on this anime, I have to say. So I don't really recommend it. Like I think you have to have like a specific kind of enjoyment of it. I wouldn't recommend it, I suppose, from that standpoint, because it's kind of like, yeah, it's pretty okay. I think that's kind of like where I feel indifference, honestly, about the anime. Don't very much of that. Anyway, Tuesdays. Okay, next day, Orphan. No, here we go. No, this is why I like to do these live streams. I hate this anime. I hate it. I effing hate this anime. Absolutely drop it. I dropped it in one episode. It was so bad. So Orphan, it's like a remake, right, of an old anime for like 20 years ago or so, like early 2000. I think 2004. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I've seen a little bit of it in the past. But this anime still looks like it's made 2004 at best. Yeah, it looks like it's 20 years old. It has the characters are drawn like it's like an old, Sailor Moon or something like that. Yeah, it's like an old. But the thing is that the anime has like incredibly bad quality. Like the art style, the animation style, the colorization, the hue station, everything has to do with art. And as I keep saying that I'm an art director, even though I don't do any art, but I have the title. I would be dreadful seeing a product I'm working on looking at this, right? Everything in this thing is wrong from everything with the art. Yeah, it's just horrible. And so people are defending it, saying that that's how they usually look at animes. Yeah, but this is not like a good way of making good animes. It's more like this is how you make animes because you have no budget, right? In the 20 years ago. But today, even with low budget, you can make it a lot better because the technology is much better, right? So it's easier making it look better. And this anime then is failing on all of that, and it's just really like, it's very fast to watch in the beginning immediately. You can't like tell the difference between any of the side characters. They all have the same hairstyle, same color, same boring like brown shirt. It's just like they're all so boring and ugly. Oh my god! They look so ugly. And then it's like everything is just like that in this anime. Everything looks the same. Nothing is any different. What more can you say? I think that's kind of a nutshell thing, right? Everything looks just exactly the same. What more can you say? The powers are boring. They reminds me a lot of the battles in Black Clover. Yeah, Tuesday. That's what it reminds me of. It reminds me a lot of the Black Clover, bad battles in Black Clover, where it's like Black Clover has amazing battles. You know how much I love Black Clover. They're one of my favorite animes ever. But Black Clover also has filler battles, and the filler battles in Black Clover are quite boring, right? Because it's like, oh, here's a character, and they're like, instead of having the more interesting magic in Black Clover, the filler guys has like, I can throw fireballs, and I can throw ice bolt, and they just kind of like just throw, projectiles, right? That is Orphan in a nutshell. Every character in Orphan except the main character, even the main character in episode 1, are just throwing projectiles. Yeah, so like, I have wind magic, wind projectile. This guy's like, I have fire projectile, and it's like they're all exactly the same. Like just different colors on the exact same magic. That is so boring. And then these like dwarf, but they're kids, but they're actually dwarf characters, are horrible. It's kind of weird, like 20, 30 years ago, bad, etchy comedy. We come into Plunderer later, which I also hate. Plunderer is a horrible anime. We come into that later too, but yeah, kind of like Plunderer. You're just like, when you watch it, you're like, oh my god, what is happening? What is happening? What am I watching? That's how I feel like when I see the shit. I'm like, oh my god, this is so horrible. To be honest, yeah, I'm just like, my god, this is not good. Like, that's the kind of the main thing about it. Yeah, it's like, okay, that wasn't good at all. That's kind of like what I'm mainly feeling right when I see this. I think especially even more Plunderer. Coming to Plunderer later. Also, I can say it immediately, Plunderer, drop it. God damn it, drop Plunderer immediately. Don't even watch the anime. It's horrible. But anyway, now I'll talk about it briefly here. Here we go. Here I find it. Nafumi! So Shield Hero, of course. No, exactly. It's the Isekai Quartet. Obviously, I love Quartet. Is a great anime. But I will say immediately here, if you're gonna watch or are watching Isekai Quartet for Shield Hero, it's not Shield Hero. I think it's a weird thing. I want to mention it briefly, right? So Isekai Quartet, the season 2, you have Konosuba, you have Tanya, Tanya the Evil, right? The sake of Tanya, you have Overlord with Eins, and of course you have Zero with Super Reveal and so on, and of course poor Rem, there is the love. They also have Shield Hero with like 1 second screen time at best. so it's a weird thing. I'm still really enjoying Isekai Quartet. It's a great anime. Also, I'm a very biased guy because I love Aqua and so on, so I'm very, very biased. But I do think it's a great anime. I think the comedy is on point. I think it's super funny. Like the last ending was like the best part of that episode. When you're showing Kazuma getting gifts for pretending to like it, and it's like, oh my god, they love me, I got girlfriends and so on. Yeah, I think it's hilarious. But on the same time, it feels weird that most of the promotion art was like, we're having Shield Hero now. We had Shield Hero now, and then they completely ignored that. So that feels weird, right, to me. How they just went without Shield Hero. Yeah, it feels weird to me how they just ignored it completely. That to me tells me also that they're not going to have any other animes. Unlikely they're going to have other characters coming in from other shows, right? Because of the reason that, yeah, it's like, well, Shield Hero got ignored. But anyway, so we also have Breakers. Breakers is a sport anime about Paralympics, right? So people that are, in a wheelchair and so on, right? Doing like basketball, stuff like that. I think the anime is, from like a standpoint of interesting plot, definitely, yeah, very, few animes with people not just being, I mean, yes, they are like Konosuba, when the people in wheelchairs, but you know what I mean? But it's like focused on being that, not just like a side character, like a Konosuba's sister's in a wheelchair, and she's like, a side character, she's blind, yeah, she's a side character, yeah. But actually being the main character, so to speak, that is new and fresh, but I hate the animation of this anime. It's super ugly. That's the thing. Breakers is already finished, right? Or it's like it's supposed to be short form release, but it is very weirdly kind of cel-shaded graphics in the anime that I have a hard time watching from like a graphical standpoint, right? It's very similar to me to like be really poor CGI, right? And it's like there's a lot of scenery where they don't move and so on. I think that's a big problem for this anime for me. It's noticeable, very, very low art quality, incredible low art quality at some scenes. So I think that's the poor there. It's an interesting storyline, but it's also, and you know, it's an original anime, so I would rather have it potentially as a manga then, because the art quality is it's very lacking, right? So it's doesn't really sell it that well for me, right? But anyway, the Tuesday goes to Wednesday instead. Wednesday has the exact same issues though, with of course 7 Deadly Sins. I'm still somewhat enjoying 7 Deadly Sins, but again, we can briefly mention, of course, man, that season of 7 Sins, it looks incredibly ugly. Yeah, it's incredibly ugly. We had last episode, so I would say people that if you're into 7 Deadly Sins and you haven't come to this third season yet, maybe you read the manga set. I'm like forcing myself to watch the anime every week, and every week I'm just laughing at how ugly it is. Because that anime is even worse than Breakers, right? So the last episode, we had a scene with 2 hands, and I read the manga afterwards, comparing it, and yes, there is 2 panels in the manga where we have these hands coming up, right? But in the anime, instead of like animating that scene, like the hand maybe coming from the sky, the hand moving and that, it's like, here's a hand. And then the camera is like, moving around. And it's so noticeable that they have, draw a still frame, right? And then they're just moving the camera up and down around the frame, right? That's kind of the whole anime all the time. They don't animate anything. So it is incredibly ugly. Anyway, Wednesday also has Sora. I keep watching Sora. And I think it's pretty good, but I have to say that I find the current sport has like this long basketball game now, and it's never ending. I feel the pacing of the battle actually is incredibly slow actually, so I liked it more in the beginning. I think I'm disliking it the more I watch it, to be honest, of Sora. But the ongoing anime from last season, and of course Radiant, I dropped like episode 5 or something. So Radiant I felt was horribly bad with the feel of season 1 and season 2 as it. Anyway, now it's a good anime. Bofuri, of course, Shield Girl then. One of the more popular anime this season. I found it one of the best animes too, even though I completely rant about every week. So Shield Girl is about a girl that does one of the most classic gaming things, where you maximize your vitality, so you become immortal, right? No one can kill you. She's playing this virtual reality movie, basically an Isekai, but not really Isekai, yeah. And she's playing that game with her best friend Sally, which is supposed to be like a pro player, but it's horrible at actually explaining anything. But anyway, and it's like a really enjoyable, really funny comedy anime. It's cute, it's kawaii, it's moe, all that good stuff. Cute little girls, defeating dragons or big muscle guys because they're better players and so on. And it's a really enjoyable anime. But, and it's a big but, right, especially for me, from like a gaming standpoint, it's a horrible game, right? We're coming to another anime later on, which is even worse when it comes to the game perspective. But this anime has a big issue with the writing. Last episode proves again, where Sally says stuff that doesn't make any goddamn sense. So Sally, especially then, supposed to be this pro gamer, will say comments that are completely like, okay, this is what the biggest noob would say ever, right, in the gaming. So how can she be like the best player in the world, but also be like a horrible gamer? Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. That's an occurring issue all the time in this anime. Even worse is that the game developers, you see the game developers, some find it very funny and cute, those scenes. I hate them. I step by saying I hate those scenes, because those characters that are supposed to be the game developers are unrealistically bad at their work, right? Their job. They're unrealistically, horribly bad at their job. So, I don't want to be too much here, I talked about it on the videos, but the game developers in this anime then, they would get fired, in one day, right? Yeah, or, they would be bankrupt in one day, yeah, because it doesn't make any sense. They have comments like, oh, they haven't tested it yet. So basically, I think one of the big examples is when they have made because a new ability, and they're like, oh shit, wonder what that ability does for other abilities. And in that moment, these developers are then trying to figure out what happened if she combines X and Y. What will happen? That would never happen in an actual, a decent productional company. Whatever you produce, you would always imagine, before I release X thing, I will test it with Y and C and so on, right? Not just test it like an actual play in the game. You would also use theory craft before. you will have this math stat, like a lot of things you do when you're game developing, it's just Excel, right, and spreadsheet, yeah, you do spreadsheet, Google spreadsheet, yeah, and macros and so on. That's what I do, like half my time I feel, but really is, especially from a game, from a design standpoint, not from the producer or programmer, but from like a design standpoint, and the producer also has a lot of spreadsheet, but yeah, so you have a lot of that thing, right? And of course, you have done the math to at least a theoretical degree, and saying that if you combine Hydra with this ice ability, you can do like freezing ice thing and like frozen fire thing that's really strong, and it's really this, but yeah. Of course you've done that. You haven't maybe tested every possible scenario always, more than once, but at least you have done the math and be like, yeah, that's probably how it works. Or at least you have theory crafted, like, I think it would be strong, but these developers are like, well, maybe we should have wonder what that thing can do ever, yeah. And no one is that dumb, right? This is making sense. If you're that dumb, you can't also code and so on, right? I think that's a problem because, of course, people in reality are stupid. Not everyone, but some are. And of course, I have met my share of very, very stupid developers. Like people that spent $1 million on marketing and lost all the money and so on. I spent those people, right? Yeah. People that wasted 3 years of their life making a game no one bought and so on. I met a lot of those people because of reasons they failed and so on. Of course, because people are really stupid. But that's my point, right? If you're that stupid, in reality, you also fail. See what I mean? If you're that stupid in reality, if you make whatever you make, but a game then, you will also fail, right, and go bankrupt, right? That's what's happening, or at least you will, fail and then slowly go back up, yeah. But you want this game to be very successful and very popular. So how can you both be really bad at your job, but also be good at your job, right? That's what doesn't make any sense logically, right? Because either you are horrible, and you accidentally, and I guess you can argue that they accidentally made a good game, right? But it's kind of hard. You don't just accidentally make a good design game. It's very hard to like, from this anime standpoint, the main character accidentally becomes OP. That can definitely happen. You can randomly, fall into like a lucky, awesome build in a game, in a new game. Absolutely can happen, right? But from a gaming standpoint, like designing all of this, this very, very big and more big game with hundreds of buildings and so on, the different classes and so on, that can't just be done by accident. Yeah, it's just so much work. They're probably, huge, like 100 people, employees, whatever. So it's very hard to like just randomly manage something good, right? It's very, very hard. So it doesn't make any sense. The game is the premise of the anime is completely insane, basically. Same thing with her build as well, right? That everyone acting like it's like a new, unique thing, and we are full wit build is the most basic build ever. Yeah, it's the most traditional, basic strategy ever. Grinding, taking damage. Super classic, FF2, Furry Anime, whatever, right? All those games, you do that, exactly that thing. You take damage for hours to get more stats and so on, yeah. So it's nothing unique at all what she's doing. So the premise of the anime is complete crap. And I step by saying it's complete crap. But it's still a really funny anime, right? But you have to be like, you can't think about anything around it, the actual rules of the game. And they also in the anime, which I feel is an issue with all these kind of animes, they never explain the rules of the anime, of the game world. So they have an event, and it's like, can you be 2 or can you be 50 members in your party? It seems to be whatever you want. Yeah, they never explain anything in the anime. I still enjoy the anime, but I'm also wondering, like, why can't they ever explain anything that's happening? It's just like, from like a ruling standpoint, right? Because to have this, like, PvP battles and so on, and it's like, are you allowed to have like 1 versus 50? Well, she won, so I guess it's very weird. All of that is very, very weird in the anime. But I would give it credit to say it's probably better in the source novel, right? There's more text actually explaining stuff and so on. I would imagine so, at least I would imagine. Let's go into just Infinite Dragon on Thursday. That's the wrong one. Not Red Dragons. Infinite Dendrogram, that's the one. Infinite Dendrogram, the huge dragon next thing, yeah. Infinite Dendrogram, even worse. Okay, so if you think if I dislike Maple Tree, I actually really do enjoy Bofuri. I think it's really funny. This anime though, oh my god, it's even dumber, okay? So it's kind of funny that this season has like no isekais. It's a very low isekai season, the lowest isekai for years. Usually has like 5 isekai, right? But it's like 2, none, all of the 2 of these things. If you think that VR games are isekai, yeah. This one is horrible. It's even effing worse than, much worse than Bofuri. Much worse. So in this game, it will go bankrupt in 1 day. Because they have this thing that if you get locked out, you are locked. If you die, you get locked out from the game for like a day or 3 days. Yeah. Already at that standpoint, this is retarded because no one ever played the game. Because Of course, in reality, you would be like, oh, I can't play this game. Well, another game, yeah. You will just go over and play another game. All games today, more or less, especially at least like virtual, like like internet games where you have an MMO set in this game and so on, where you have social and so on. It's about retention. You want the player to stay in your game as long as possible. You want the gamers to come back to play your game as long as possible every day and so on. That's what they go right. That's why you have dailies, you have weeklies, you have special events, right? Like in Japan, it's very big with special events on the weekend and so on. That's what you do, right? In a game where you can't play the game for a day or two, it's retarded because obviously you go and play other games then. This game doesn't exist in a vacuum, in a complete singular game in whole galaxy. Even if it's the best game ever, people will still go and play other games, and then you get invested into other games, right? So people defense anime arguing that, well, you get invested in your character. First, how would you? Because you die level 1, so you would anyway. But even if you are invested in your character in this game, you would still play a lot of other games while waiting for this game to work again. And then you would, of course, be more invested into the other game as well, right? So you get much more investment in the other games, So it doesn't make any sense. And the game's only defense from the author, basically, is that, well, this is the only game ever, basically. It's the only game that exists that works. That's kind of the defense. So even the author itself knows that this premise is retarded. Because it's like, it doesn't make any goddamn sense. And then, of course, the game like randomly gives you a class embryo thing, and people no, it's reading your mind. How would it do that? But anyway, even if it does that, your mind will change. If you actually study how people play games, people will like fight this X character, lose to X character. I want to try playing that class. So yeah, that's how like noobs plays most casual game. If you, for example, when I studied fighting games and like with children and so on, there's a very clear thing that if a kid played like Rugby as Guile and Guile beats them, it's like a 5-year-old. The 5-year-old would then be like, that Guile guy was cool. I want to play Guile now, and they would usually play the character they lost to. Like that's like basic mentality for like a children, right? So if you read the mind of that kid, for 5 minutes he wants to play Ru, next 5 minutes he wants to play Guile, right? So there's like no. That's kind of how the mind works. Yeah, you can't just read and say, but this is exactly what you want to be in the future. So someone PvP kills you in this game, many people believe, I want to play that class. Oh, I can't. I'm locked out permanently from that class. You can't respec. You can't like re-roll. The game that has like you have one character. It's just like so many things that would make this game world never work. And also, you can play NPCs permanently. You can remove quests and talents because the game is like a live thing. So what's the most common thing to do in me? MMORPGs, they kill other players and they destroy their game because it's fun, right? Highlight playthroughs all the time, they gank and so on. Yeah, in this world, if you gank people, it actually has, this in this game, if you gank, it has a massive impact. Yeah, so this is an instant drop. I agree completely, right? Don't watch the anime. It's a horrible anime because nothing makes any sense from a gaming standpoint. Nothing makes sense whatsoever. It's super frustrating. To watch this anime. Like, I hate it in a sense because nothing makes any goddamn sense, and you used to be forced to play a class and then dying from another class. So many people will go and rant on the game leaderboard, the forums, on social media and so on, right? And this game also locks you out for like a day if you die. So that means a lot of people have a lot of time to go and be like, I hate this game, right? So this game will never make any money. It just will be a complete disaster. And all that being said, the characters are also boring, right? Comparing it again to Bofuri, I think the game doesn't make any sense either, but at least in Bofuri, it's like a really, cute characters, they're funny characters, it's great jokes, good comedy, good interaction between the characters, and so on, right? They have some nice characterization, some character development, so on. This anime, I watched 3 episodes, and I regretted watching more than 1 episode, yeah, because after episode 3, I was like, I still haven't learned anything about the main character. The main character has one trait, personality. I want to save the girl, episode 1. That's it. He has no other personality trait whatsoever, at all explained in 3 episodes. He doesn't have nothing, honestly. They did not explain anything with him. And same with his like maiden Nemsumi's character. She has a little more personality quirk, not really explained, and it's just like a really poor anime in all ways around it. Yeah, gaming makes no sense. Boring main character, boring side characters. And immediately, spoilers. Immediately, the main character beats like a level. A 210 NPC can't defeat this boss. He's level 1 and beats the boss So he's like, how can he beat a 210? Doesn't make any sense. They're playing a game, so you can't like, go your Super Saiyan on level 1 and beat something, because it's a game. It wouldn't work. A game system wouldn't allow you to be level 1 and beat a 210 plus boss, because you're still level 1, even if you want to, right? So it's just so much like it's a game, but not really, because they do have this stuff that are breaking game rules, right? Yeah, it's a horrible. Don't watch the anime. It's a horrible anime. Anyway, not a horrible anime. We're doing bad animes now then, because there's Tuesday, Thursday, and Wednesday. Plunderer, another crappy anime. I'm like, man. So I also this one the worst anime I listened to. Plunderer. Jesus Christ. Interdenogram, I hate it because for several reasons, but also because it's a game that doesn't make any sense. This anime is feeling so awkward. It's just so awkward. So Plunderer is, first of all, they have this like Black Mirror number system, kind of like your social ranking value system with numbers on your chest. Like Nana has like 17 because Nana means 7, so it's like 77. And the premise of Plunderer, to me at least, sounded, whoa, interesting premise. You have number values, you have like a higher ranking in society based on your numbers, people are doing that thing. But immediately that's thrown away. Immediately that makes no sense anyway. Yeah, immediately they don't care about that. You watch like everyone, it don't matter. For example, Nana then, again, her number is 77, and she gets more value or less value if someone tells her like her food is great, or Omai +1, or if you say like Kimoi, whatever, discussing -1. Yeah, she's a chef then, like a traveling chef making food, right? Why is she always then 77? Doesn't make any effing sense. How bad is her food? No, actually, her food is indifferent. No one likes it. No one hates her food. She just makes food every episode, and her number is is exactly always 77, right? Elizabeth Icy, I dropped her 73, yeah. So it's like, how does her number just stay there? It doesn't make any sense. Her number should of course increase or decrease during the episodes. It just doesn't make any sense, because her food is just making food, right? It's a plot hole immediately. And that's kind of how the number are for every character. The main character, Lich, has a -909. He's a famous -909, legendary Mr. -999. And then he gets -1000 from the main character. Also makes no sense, because his power is about getting either rejected or girls liking him, by either plus or minus. And it's like, but he got rejected like 6 times episode 1. So either you get plus from that or minus, depending on how his calculus works. But regardless, how's he staying at -999 for 300 years? That is what Nana says episode about. He's like, oh, he's a legendary Mr. Waste hero, -999. But then finally, one girl got into a -1000. And it's like, but he got reacted like 6 times the same episode. He should be a -1005 or something. So the number system is completely trash. Doesn't make any goddamn sense. So that I hate them immediately. Because the premise to me sounds good, right? But then doesn't really, they don't care about themselves. And also, they say that number people can force people to do stuff because they're higher number, but no one really does that, in a way. And it's like, no, that could have been so much more interesting, right? If someone was like, you have to have, sleep with me or else you lose numbers. So yeah, the people are paying numbers for, sex or whatever. That would be much more interesting if it happened on the side of the anime, or, other stuff and so on. It could be so much more on that, right? How horrible the world is because everyone has like a social value number. Or it's like, if you do X, I give you 20 points, or if they trade the points, then like so on. The premise has so much more, could be good, but it really follows that premise. So that's horrible. That's the first thing in the anime, which is bad. Secondly, the main character is a horrible, creepy douchebag, and so it's ecchi, and it's ecchi in kind of that, like the boring 90 bland ecchi, where he's just like, I wanna squish boobies and butts, and he's running around and being a perv all the time. In that kind of a boring ecchi, right? And for me, I think it's a horrible thing in the anime, because that kind of etchiness is so old school, right? It was kind of funny for some animes back in the days, but today we can have stuff like comment collector, Interspecies Reviewers, and so on, right? Yeah. Well, see you, Oliver. So on, yeah. So, I mean, they have that in other animes, right? For example, again, Interspecies Reviewers, whatever, high school DxD. That those animes are ecchi, right? And it's like boobs flying around, and it's ecchi. You see some ass and some pants over there. Those animes are ecchi. They can have great etchiness, and you talk about sex and so on, right? But this anime is doing this kind of like weird low beat ecchi, where it's like, I want to see your panties, but they don't really show anything. So it's very like, it's not really going, you know, enough ecchi either. So it's like an uninteresting ecchi, and it's acting like typical Master Roshi, or like, I guess I like Ghost Bravo, anime, or Green and so on, like these old horror mesh animes. Those animes also much more you know, actual ecchi in this anime, and they have a similar, how say it, a bad character in both the animes. 3 in one of them, yeah, was a kind of ecchi pervert character, right? Which no one likes, right? Yeah, kind of basically the antagonist, right? Yeah, and it's like a weird thing having the main character running around like this typical skibby pervert, and it's also not really going anywhere with it. It's just kind of like, yeah, and it never really goes the full length, right? So it's just really boring. Yeah, and I think one thing too, again, boring. It's just not funny either. Like again, the best anime season, I genuinely think by far is Interspecies Reviewers, which I caught up later on Saturday day here. But I genuinely think that. So obviously, I'm not a prude where I'm like, I don't let your joke get sex to no, not at all, right? Because I'm loving that anime. But in Plunderer, the jokes are so boring. It's just kind of like, I'm a perv in a mask, girl with boobs. It's just so bad writing. The sex jokes are incredibly boring. They're incredibly weak, and the female characters are so boring and uninteresting and unintelligent. And it's just like, it's just so bland. It's bland both visually from a, you know, fan service standpoint, ecchi standpoint, but also bland jokes. So nothing worth the anime. Immediately drops the anime. Don't watch it. I mean, man, this might be the anime I hate the most this season, even more than Underground, because from a premise at least, this anime sounded good. So I have my thumbnail, because I actually hoped at least that this anime would be, you know, better. Because again, the premise sounded good. And the author that's on Lost Property before, Heaven's Lost Property, that anime was also more ecchi. So at least that anime wasn't the best either, but it was more sexual. Right? So I was like, well, it might not be the best anime, but I could see how this number system is going to be very, very hentai, so it could be interesting jokes on that and so on. But it just doesn't. It's just completely faultless on that. So it's just funny, it's not sexy. It's just kind of nothing. It's just kind of an annoying thing you want to just ignore it exists. Yeah. So anyway, but the anime, probably my biggest disappointment, that or Reiko. Coming to soon here. But anyway, Kutai Dragons, Riffin Dragons, kind of indifferent this anime. I don't think many have seen it. I reacted to the first episodes, then I kind of dropped it honestly, and I see episode 3 without react to it. But I was like, it's just kind of decent. I don't see. So this is a CG anime. Reminds me a lot of Magnificent Kubutani. Looks exactly the same. Both flying airship animes, very, very similar. So I don't mind that in this anime. I think it's a pretty like decent CG, which I think it kind of works. I think Door Heather is much better, but commented later on Sunday. But this anime is hard to explain. It just kind of lives. I feel you watch the anime. They are hunting dragons in the sky, right? It's very much like Monster Hunter. If it's like a Monster Hunter thing. Monster Hunter, which I think is a pretty good game. I think it's my Monster Hunter. You know, yeah, it's kind of like Monster Hunter, kinda. You kind of watching, you know, the main character, the Monster Hunter, running around with like a harpoon and fighting dragons. That's kind of how the anime feels like. But it's just kind of, it's just kind of there, and the bats are kind of good, and the jokes are just kind of good. So I feel very indifferent. Nothing really invested into the characters or into the actual premise, and the premise stuff is just also kind of like Monster Hunter. It's like, well, we're hunting dragons, we can eat them, and that's kind of the storyline, yeah. And then you just fight a dragon per episode, and it might be interesting, yeah. Which is not really. So it feels like an anime that, and I was saying that immediately I saw it. It needs a main plot. It needs to have some kind of, you know, stakes for the characters. It needs to have some kind of tension. It needs to have more drama with the characters. But it doesn't have that. And all the characters on the ship are friends. And that might sound like a good thing, but there also is like no drama really between them. I think it could be better if it had that. Comparing it, for example, Magnificent Kubutani, they're all also best. They're all like, you know, 6 main characters. They're all best friends, like girl power. They all love each other, and they're very like maybe even really love each other for that matter. Right? Yeah, some Yuri and so on. That's what I kind of mean. Those characters also love each other almost too much, I guess. But they also fight a lot. Like they're like sisters. Like, I hate you for this thing, and you screw me. Yeah, they have more drama, right? Yeah, they both have like. Probably a Yuri hint drama, and also like a sisterly rival drama and so on, right? And then they have their boss, the female boss, that hates other female character in Kubutani, and they fight and so on, right? So they have that kind of constant drama while they are also best friends or almost more like sister or lovers, whatever. Yeah, in all the same time, like a family kind of way. So that anime is very similar. They are fighting in airplanes, but they also keep having this banter, which is about interesting. So Kobutani, I really liked. Great anime. This anime feels like a weak Kobutani from like a thematical air dog fighting. We are at this anime is called Drifting Dragons or Kyotai Dragons, which I think is a mediocre anime. I feel in anime is like, this is when I watch an anime and it's be like, oh, it's pretty okay. It just kind of works. Nothing really is bad. Nothing really is good either. It's kind of like pretty, I wasn't wholesome, but it's kind of like a low anime in the sense. Like, yeah, okay. I feel an anime where I can watch it while playing a game at the same time. Like I play Hearthstone or whatever now, or I play Asteroid on Twitch, so I can watch that anime on that screen and this screen I play that game. That's kind of anime to me. So I would say probably drop it. I'm just like, yeah, I'm pretty indifferent to it in a way. Anyway, we're gonna go on now to number 24, which is a football anime, or sorry, rugby anime, to be exact, rugby. And I do love, for example, I'm a huge fan of Ice Shield. Ice Shield 1 is one of my favorite sport animes. Number 24 is an anime then about rugby instead, so similar setting I suppose. But I felt that anime, I think it's pretty bad. It's not the best sport anime I've seen, it's actually one of the worst, but I like sport anime. And I just think it does everything that a sport anime does right, like Haikyuu is the one, but it does it worse. So I would say, if you really like sport anime, number 24, I guess it's okay. But otherwise, I would recommend Haikyuu, the season, right? Or I would recommend, other animes. Yeah, I've seen the live chat. And as I said, we are at Kyoto on number 24 here. But now we're gonna go into Furry Anime. Where's my image? Furry Anime. I need my Furry Anime. Bam, there we go. Nekopara! And so Nekopara then, it's how would I say it? It's a furry anime. It is about, a cat, basically a maid coffee place, right? But there are cute cat girls. It is again, of course, very Interspecies Reviewers, which of course we come to later again, right? We can talk a lot about Interspecies Reviewers being, of course, the best anime season. But Nekopara, I feel it's similar in that vein to, again, like this. It's furry, it's cute. I'm going to increase the light here a bit. I think that's better. Yeah, that's better, right? Yeah, turn that a bit there. And I think it's an okay anime. But I think in the same vein, similar to number 24, I think this anime is pretty bad. And so I agree with that it's a drop because there are so many better furry animes or cute girl animes. I think there's so much other ones it does it better, right? Again, obviously season in Special Viewer is this anime but 10 times better. But I think there are other similar animes, with all the whole Monster Girl, Monster Musume, right, Isuno Watashi, so on and so forth. Whatever, my alt favorite, Tenshimoyo, right, the classic horror Monster Girl anime, so right, the Alien Girls, yeah, it does it better, right? So I feel it's like, if you're really into like furry kind of, I suppose, but I feel it's one of the worst one in this category. So the worst one, but it's a pretty bad one, so I wouldn't recommend it. And then we have talk about Hatani Illusion, which is, I guess, a comedy anime. It's pretty much exactly what I said though in my previous video. We did the preview of in the winter. I always do a preview. We talk about my expectations of the animes, right? And I feel this anime exactly is what I expected. It's a pretty mediocre comedy anime. I say drop it. I won't talk about it too much. I feel it's like a pretty boring comedy anime about, I want to be a magician and this guy's gonna teach her. It's very predictable, but I think the jokes don't really land that well. I think that's an issue, right? So I think it's an anime where I'm just like, I guess it exists there. I wouldn't recommend it. I don't think it's a very good anime at all. I think it's one of the weaker comedy anime this season. Instead of talking about another really good comedy, which of course is, I can find the image here, one of my actual favorite anime, which is airing today for that matter, which of course is Idol Showcase. This anime I will absolutely recommend here again. It's an amazing anime. We're gonna react to it later tonight. I think it's probably after Interspecies Reviewers, I think this is the funnest anime season. That of course, if my idol went to Budokan, or let's say the full name again, it's hard Japanese name, Ushiga Budokan Itukurata Shinu, like that. Yeah. So this anime, I think, is the second funniest comedy anime season. Again, if it's the anime, I'm gonna react to it in about 3 hours from now, so it's gonna be awesome. And this anime is freaking brilliant. It's no Zombieland Sega. You know, I love Zombieland Sega, one of my favorite all-time animes, but it is a very similar premise where they are parodying the idol show. So from a name standpoint, I think a lot of people think it's an idol show. And yes, there are idol girls in the anime, but it's more similar to, for example, what's it called now again? Goku Idols, where it's like these Yakuza guys are forced to be idols. It's more like that, where it's about a female character, and she's an idol stalker fangirl, right? It's like, oh, I wanna get with Mina-chan, yeah, and it's like a really weird thing. Instead of being about, I wanna be an idol, it's about, you know, how do I get, you know, touching time with this idol girl, yeah. So it's a very interesting thing, and we see some of the idol girls' lives too, right? And they're like, oh, that fat guy, I don't touch that guy. So it's more about, you know, oh, my fans are disgusting, and yeah, it's like, I don't want to be famous. So it's like that also. That's very similar to Goku Idol Girls. They're also about them being like, oh, I hate my fans. Oh, this yeah, they was it all the time in the anime. So the anime then is about the otakus, right? The idol fan club that wants to make their idol girls become famous. So it's like, so the main character, Eri or Eri-chan, her goal is to make this very, like, you know, the lowest ranked member of her idol group, Mina-chan. She wants to make Mina number one, right? So she spends her life like buying all her CDs, all her merchandise. She never has any money because she spends all her money every day. It's like, and he has to ask her mom for more money because she's like a grown up, but she's at home, because like a half failure life and so on. And works overtime or night to be able to buy more merchandise. And it's an anime about, you know, a stalker, basically, like an obsessed stalker. But at the same time, it's kind of cute because the main idol girl, Mina, kind of likes her because she only has one fan, and she only has one fan, and also a girl later on then, but she has like 2 fans currently in the anime. So she's like, she of course knows her fan. Oh, Eri Piyu-chan, the only one that buys my stuff. So she's kind of like falling for her in like a Stockholm syndrome way, kind of, I guess, because like forcing her love to her. But anyway, I think the anime is brilliant. Again, I think it's the second first anime season. It's like an underdog anime, very black, you know, dark horse, what it's called, dark black, because yeah, I really recommend it. It's really, really funny. I laugh at it constantly, but it's very, very quirky, right? And then she has some other friends, like this fat, you know, typical massive fat guy, right, with glasses, and he's very otaku, right? He's like, I like Ren Ryu-chan. He's like cosplaying, and it's like a very, it reminds me of also a little bit Genshiken, if it's Genshiken, about like a nerd gaming anime club, right, at school, right? It's kind of like those characters, like they're super otakus and they're joking about stuff. But I think it's a very good anime. I think it actually, again, it's one of the best anime this season. I would probably have it in my top 3, honestly. Maybe even my number 2, yeah. Like, it's my comedy stand, but definitely my number 2. Super hilarious. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy it. Anyway, let's go over to Somali. So I have a good image here. I think we had, here we go, yeah. So Somali the Forest Spirit is also gonna be today then. So to Thursday for me, right, is Somali and Oshigoshi Budokan Idol Show, yeah. Also my to Thursday videos, weekly videos. So Somali is a very good, how to say it, sad drama. It's a very, very sad story immediately. So we have this world with furries, no, but like more less sexual furries, right? A world with like minotaurs and goblins and dwarves and whatever, right? Bird people and so on, harpies. And they have basically killed almost all humans. And it's about this human girl and her father, her golem father, and trying to find humans, right? Because he's gonna die shortly, so he has to like find someone to take care of her, right? And it's just super sad. Immediately we know he's gonna die, it's very obvious, and then he's trying to not tell her he's dying, and it's just a lot of that, and she's super innocent, and she gets into, you know, trouble with people and meeting friends, people maybe she can trust and so on. So it's a very, you know, drama-driven anime. It's a lot of emotions and a lot of building friendship, right, between different people she meets, and it's a very vibrant, this is for me, I look for it again, vibrant anime. It's a very beautiful setting, Every area they go into, every cave, every desert, every like ice paths, whatever, are very good looking, very interesting, you know, world building, world setting, and so on. And these characters then are, you know, we're viewing mainly, I feel, Somali exploring each region, right, of this world, right. It's exploring like this underground cave with like lightning mushrooms and so on. So I think that's like a very good anime, but definitely on the sad, emotional anime, right? It's like, how can daddy survive and so on. Yeah, so it is there, and I think it's pretty good. So where is my? What should to go through? We can go into. Okay, I guess. Okay, so asterisk in Koi no Asteroid, Kotono, yeah. So like Love and Asteroid. To me, a very disappointing anime. I say to me, some people like the anime. I don't think it's the worst anime ever. I don't think it's the horrible anime. But for me, it's disappointing because I like this genre. I like this slice of life, you know, cute girls hanging out, and yes, this Yuri, they kind of love and so on. But for me, the problem with anime by far is that I see the exact same anime in, you know, 10 times already, done better. Like, this is probably one of the boring. I think this anime is one of the worst example of this slice of life, you know, soft Yuri animes. For example, we have like Eurocamp, right? I love Eurocamp, great anime. This anime feels a lot like Eurocamp. You should say it's more boring, yeah. Less good jokes, less interesting characters. It's just Eurocamp, but worse. It's so much similar to a little bit to similar other animes, right? Typical schoolgirl, I don't know, non biaru, whatever. Yeah, I've seen all of these slice of life, you know, girl club animes, and this is one of the worst ones I've seen. And I absolutely stand by saying that. I think this would be my top 10 of just girl clubs animes. Yeah, there's a lot of these, you know, slice of life, you know, girls hanging out, having good time, maybe falling in love, maybe not, whatever, so on. Make some jokes, maybe making music, making camping, making food, making this or whatever. This is so many of these animes, making class rep, yeah, so on, yeah, being president or whatever, yeah. This anime exists in so many different forms, and I think this is one of the most boring ones, which is kind of bland. The characters are less expressional. It's less. It's just less of everything. I don't recommend it again because it's just less of what the older animes have already done and done better. And it's a problem I feel too when you make an anime that is very, very genre tropey, right? It's very, very genre tropey, and you're not making anything better with it, right? So everyone, I feel, the most people are seeing it have already seen the older animes before, and they're like, yeah, I recognize like every damn story moment here, but I've seen it better. For example, not similar, but similar to entropy, Nisekoi. Very random notion, I guess. But yeah, Nisekoi, I think, is a good horror anime. Why do I like Nisekoi? Even though Nisekoi is incredible generic, because Nisekoi takes everything that was done by Love and Teshimoyo and so on, and does it again, right? But Nisekoi takes a lot of stuff and makes it better, I think. So for example, Nisekoi, similar to anime I feel, because also it's like, man, everything I've seen, I've absolutely seen for Nisekoi is incredible generic and predictable. But it does everything I feel better. Not everything, but most of it, right? So I don't the best horror anime, but I was saying that's in a way you can like, you make stuff and you make it better. In gaming, it would be like Blizzard, right? Blizzard, they take stuff from other games, always done that, right? For example, Overwatch, you know, very Team Fortress, but they make it, you know, more refined, right? Better, yeah. Of course, now Blizzard hate it because it was free, but you know what I mean, yeah. In past, at least, Blizzard would take old other games and they will refine them, right? I think that, for example, is something that you can see in Isekai. It's a refinement of the horror genre. Then I think it's not the best horror genre, but I think it's a good refinement of generic tropes, right? Asteroid is very much like non-refinement of massive generic stuff, massive tropey. Not a big fan at all. I want to briefly mention, what's it called again? Jibaku Shouden Hanako-kun, which is the weird toilet comedy anime. I think it's in a similar vein like Asteroid. It's like a comedy anime. It is weird. It's freaky. I have seen better comedy animes too. I feel it's the exact same thing for me. It's just like I have seen Asubase, and I've seen other, you know, crazier, freakier anime that are just crazier, right? And comedic and shock value. And I think this the exact same thing with that anime. It's also like, I feel it's okay comedy. I can watch it, I can enjoy it, but keep thinking that I've seen the exact same thing better done. Not with Asteroid. I think it's very, very similar. I've seen it right, and I was like, it's kind of like what I expect, right? Yeah, what I expect, and it's not really coming off that strong. I feel like why I watch the thing over any other anime. I feel or at the other animes. But anyway, now we're gonna get into Darwin's Game. I think here's like a Darwin's Game. Yeah, so Darwin's Game, it's the typical thriller anime with I don't know. They fight and they kill each other almost. Darwin's Game, it screams Murenase to begin with, right? And it really screams Murenase. So Future Diaries, which of course Yunugasai, right? The classic Yandere Girlfriend, the classic horror anime. I really like Murenase. I think it's one of the best animes ever, in my opinion. In the beginning, and then it turns into complete crap in the end. But the problem with Murenase, I won't talk too much here, but it's that eventually, at the end of its season 2 there, it becomes like a battle shonen anime. It's super weird. They have like some space battle and so on. It doesn't make any sense. I think that's the problem with Murenase mainly. But Darwin's Game, very similar, right? People are stuck in some kind of like, you have to kill each other. It's like a battle royale thing, classic battle royale, Hunger's Game, but like battle royale, like the move battle royale. Everyone has some kind of power, like in battle royale. It's exactly in battle royale. They actually get like a weapon, right? They get like a gun or a machine gun or a hand grenade or a GPS or so on, and then they fight, right? Yeah. So it's very much the typical battle royale setting. Everyone has a weapon or a power, magic power, and you can fight. And then they are this, very like Murenase, that is their cell phone to do stuff and read notes or learn stuff about the powers. Like Murenase, one power is cell phone, right? Or like King's Game, the worst anime ever, where it's like I have a cell phone with giving me commands. So it's very much the cell phone battle anime, right? And then they fight, and it's just very mediocre in my opinion. I would say drop it probably if you haven't seen the other animes. Like I mentioned, Murenase, much better example. This anime so far has done nothing, I feel, at all to warrant me watching it. If I had seen other anime, I having no life, I haven't seen the anime before, right? So for me, it's like, well, I guess it's another horror anime that I can watch, right? But if you haven't seen those much better war game, horror, battle royale animes, they're out there and they're all, I feel, better than Darwin's Game, except King's Game, which is the worst anime ever. King's Game, in my opinion, is like literally the worst anime ever. Like I think, again, King's Game, worst anime ever done. So it's not really impressive being better than King's Game, because every anime is better than King's Game. So, but in the end, it's very generic though. It's incredible generic. And I feel one thing with Darwin's Game, nothing so far whatsoever has been a twist or has been, unpredictable. Everything so far is a thriller, an anime about thriller and suspense and, like who's gonna kill me, who is on my side. It is incredibly predictable. The opening spoilers doesn't help for that matter, but it's just like, man, there's a girl, spoilers, that the first girl in me is basically gonna fall in love with him and be all like, oh, let's have sex, we met 1 minute ago, let's do it. It's just gonna be like, I will die for you, my love, because she's obviously Yunugasai. She's a worst Yunugasai, right? I mean in writing, yeah, boring Yunugasai, blonde Yunugasai, right? Yeah, that is incredibly predictable. That the guy doesn't kill him, has to be friendly. Yeah, everything is just like, everything that you assume is gonna happen happens, I feel, in Darwin's Game, and that to me is a really bad thing for like a horror thriller anime, right? You're supposed to have some suspense. You're supposed to wonder who are his enemies. Instead, everything that I have predicted so far has been true in this anime. Exactly, like literally everything. I haven't been wrong on a single thing so far in this anime. Every episode when I watch it, I'm able to basically predict exactly what's gonna happen every damn scene, right? And that is pretty weak. That is pretty weak. Anyway, let's talk about Rikai Gai. Oh, nice. Oh, it's that weak. Yeah. Rikai Gai noi Ushita Node Shumashita Mita. Yeah. So, how to science love. How can I understand love? How to research love, right? It's an anime that is probably for me that or Plunderer, but this is probably actually on honest terms the most disappointing anime for me this season. And I stand by saying that because I like this anime. I'm laughing at this anime. I love especially the what's called the Ferris wheel episode where the Kazuma's character, they get Konosuba, where he's like, oh, Ferris wheel, that's what you fucking do it, yeah, because the Ferris wheel in any damn hentai is always a stuff where you have sex at, yeah, always, especially in like yaoi hentai. The Ferris wheel, the cross-dressed character, the bottom is gonna take it hard, right? All the damn time. It's like a massive trope. Ferris wheel, it's where you do it, yeah. Every damn time, right? So of course he's like, Ferris wheel, oh, let's go! And the other cats are like, what are you talking about? Ferris wheel? It's like, you kiss the best. What? You don't have sex with Ferris wheel? Yeah. So I mean, the awesome jokes are enjoying in the anime, right? So I laugh at the anime, I started to laugh at a lot of it. But at the same time, I think that my expectations were really high. People were like, this is the next Kaguya-sama. It's like, what do you call this Kaguya-sama? It's gonna be amazing. And I'm just like, it's just pretty okay. In the end, it is not like Kaguya-sama. I think the writing is much poorer than Kaguya-sama by like a large margin. Of course, Kaguya-sama I had in my number 2 last year, my number 10, right? My number 2 last year. So I think Kaguya-sama back that season, yeah, is one of the best animes I've seen in my life. So Kaguya-sama I feel is like, it's like 11 out of 10 anime, right? So of course, it's not easy to fill up. But also Wotakoi, which I also really enjoy. Wotakoi, of course, Hard for Love, also 18 anime, I love that too. Not as good, I think, as Kaguya-sama, but better than this anime. The jokes are better, the characters are more likable. So this anime, it definitely is a mix between those two animes, but it is worse in every category than either of them. But they're both pretty good. So this anime in a sense isn't like a bad anime. Again, I like it, I keep watching it, I'm laughing at it a lot. But I do feel that it is definitely not coming close to those animes. And it's just kind of like it feels like a bad copy in a way, right? To some degree. But here is kicker though, and this is something I actually really do dislike in this anime, which I truly dislike this anime. That's all the science stuff. So every time in this anime they're gonna do science stuff, it doesn't make any goddamn sense. And I don't mean that the science is saying is wrong, even though it kind of was wrong last week. But I guess sometimes it's almost wrong, is what they're saying. But they have this like teddy bear that gives you science education stuff, right? And that science stuff is really poorly written. It's like the most basic, the most simple science stuff. They're usually explaining, like last week, they explained prime numbers, but they didn't even explain what is prime number really is. And the problem with that is that, okay, so I am a nerd, right? And I'm coming from like an educational background where I went to university, I researched stuff, I worked on PhD stuff, right? So, not to be here like I am so smart though, but I've been at the academia, right? And I have published papers, and I have worked with professors and so on, right? And I spent like a few years of my life in a similar setting where I'm spending time researching stuff and writing papers and books and so on, right? So I know very well how this life actually is. So about 10 years ago in my life, I was doing that before I started working in the industry. I've definitely been there, right? And the way they're talking in the anime, it doesn't make any sense from like a educational standpoint, like a science standpoint. So the prime number last week in this anime is a prime example of that. So they have this drinking game, and you're saying, oh, I'm saying like 41, that's the prime number. Then you have to say another prime number that's higher than my prime number, where else you get the drink right. So then 43 is the next prime number standard, right? So it's like 41, 43, then until someone fails. And they go higher up. They go like 100 on this thing and 500 that, and try to get a short drink right, yeah. That sounds like, I think from like a juvenile, no understanding of, I guess, like smart people at college kind of way. That sounds like a cool game that nerds would do, but absolutely they wouldn't. And I don't mean that they wouldn't have like a number game and so on, because I've done it in my life, of course. But just saying prime numbers is too simple. For me, understanding how usually universities and so on, right, and I've been at universities, doesn't make any goddamn sense. Because these kind of nerds, they wouldn't be like, oh, let's say prime numbers, that's hard. Prime numbers, that's for children, right? That's like children. These people are very much portrayed as like a genius, right? She's portrayed as like a mathematical genius. This main character is supposed to be, like a godlike IQ, IQ 500 characters, so on. Yeah. So they are not portrayed as like Senku to stone, not on that level, but it's somewhere in between that, right, and a normal engineer kind of thing. That somewhere in there is supposed to be characters. And then the games would have been at least like, here's the prime twin number, 4143 was the next twin prime number. That is how they would act, right? That's how they would act, a bare minimum. And I really mean that, because you're saying like prime numbers, like, oh yeah, 1, I guess if you count 1 because it was 1, but like 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 9, yeah. Then going up at that, of course 9 is divided by 3, but and then someone would fail and be like, 9, now you fail, yeah. That would be boring, right? Because everyone, I feel, wouldn't just know, but if you're really good at math, you can calculate and figure out prime number works to one. So this anime doesn't make any sense. And also, one thing that I, for example, love to explain, and I used to teach math, a few years ago I was not a math teacher, but I was working extra as a math teacher, professional math teacher, right? And my grandfather was a math teacher, so I really know my math, okay? So the one way you can know that if a number is divided by 3 is if it's divided by 3 as a full value. So 9 is divided by 3 because the 9 is divided by 3. The sum of the values divided by 3. Doesn't make much sense talking about a 9 here. But if you talk about, for example, let's say there's number 15. Okay, 15 is divided by 3. How do you know that? Well, it's because if you take 1 plus 5, that becomes 6, right? And 6 is divided by 3. That means you can prove that 15 is divided by 3. This is the mathematical rule, it is always true. So 9 is divided by 3 because 9 is not a prime number, because 9 as a sum of a value is divided by 3. In an equal sense, 99 is divided by 3 because 18 then, 9 plus 9 is 18, 18 is divided by 3. So that's actually how you always know if something is a prime number or not in like a higher degree, because I could give you a high number, right? And we know that even numbers like say 200 is obviously not a prime number because you can divide it by 2, right? But if I ask, is 201 a prime number? Anyone that can do math, and I feel like anyone that can college math should know that 201 cannot be a prime number, because 201 is 2 plus 1, that is 3. Easy math in head, right? Means that 201 cannot be a prime number. Simply said. 202 cannot be a prime number because it's an even number, yeah. 203 might be a prime number because 2 plus 5 is 2 plus 3. First, 2 plus 3 is 5. That might be a prime number. So, and then there are other rules for defining 5 factors and so on. So how you calculate prime numbers on a higher scale is kind of like how you code factorization. You combine your math stuff and then you can calculate so on. Right? So anyway, when I watched this anime, I'm getting disappointed, right? Because the science stuff is very, very low beat. For me, coming from like a science background, being able to do prime numbers and knowing these prime number rule settings, I could easily tell you like this number, yeah. Or I could tell you that that can't be a prime number because of this mathematical reason. I can prove to you with different kind of, you have the Mises principle, you have this one, you can prove what can be a prime number or not, right? For example, when my first year of college, one thing we did there for a typical exam thing was that prove that there only is one triple prime number. So triple prime number is a prime number that's a 3 prime number in a row. So for example, 3, 5, 7 is a prime number. And by doing that, you can calculate to say 3, 5, 7 is a prime number. And then you can prove that if you take any number in reality and plus it with 2 or 4, or divide it by 2 or 4, that is always going to be a sum of 3, which proves to you that there is no other triple prime number. So you can mathematically prove that there only exists one triple prime number, 3, 5, 7. So anyway, I like math, right? And mostly this anime, it fails on the math stuff because the math they're explaining is completely super juvenile. Something any kid can do if you have any bare understanding of math, right? Like me as a 5-year-old could do the math they're doing, right? And that is why the anime, from a textual standpoint, makes no sense. So while I like the anime, every time they are doing the education stuff, it is bad. Same thing with the amusement park thing. They were going to calculate the fastest path, or shortest path through amusement park. That's a shortest path algorithm. It's like one of the basic data structure algorithm you learn if you learn to code, like actual coding. Shortest path, very easy to modulate. Every damn coder that's an actual engineer can do shortest path. Super easy. Super duper easy. You can do that. and have a bubble sort, and I can code that in like an hour. Super easy. And they're spending this time like, we have to fix this thing and so on. So that means the author doesn't actually know, math or coding or science, right? And also generally the sample size of this anime doesn't make any sense because there's like 5 members. But yeah, sorry, wrong math rant over. But I like this anime, but every time they're doing educational stuff, it doesn't make any sense. It's just like, it's so wrong. It's wrong, or it's very, very basic that anyone could easily solve it. And also, it's clearly a weird thing that they are master and bachelor students, but they never have any classes. They should have been PhD students then. They should be like 2-3 years older, and they would have a plot hole. Because it's a plot hole in anime too. So, man, I like the anime, but it's a lot of all the science is wrong, or very, very simple. But yeah, I think I dropped the most. I think this is the weakest season in a very long time, right? I think that is true though. Yeah, they're kind of just ignoring. I mean, they clearly love each other, and that's one thing too. I mean, I like this anime. I like Rikoi, but I do agree with you that it's an excuse to just don't have sex, right? Yeah, just not doing it immediately. But I like this anime, but at the same time, I mean, I know these kind of geeky science people, because I am that, but I know a lot of people that are, engineers. I know tons of engineers, right? I know these kind of like, scientific types, right? Typical coders and so on. I know how people act, and they are not that, while they're bad, usually it's social events and so on, they're also just kind of honest with each other, because, the coder personality guy is a very honest, very direct person, like they are in episode 1. So it's also weird that they are very direct. They're very direct with each other, but they're also not just doing it. Yeah, it's kind of weird. They kind of already admitted they love each other episode 1, but so why aren't they having getting married and getting kisses so on episode 2? That's kind of how two coder people would usually kind of interact with each other. I feel honestly from my experience. But then when they actually admit what they feel, they're pretty straightforward, right? Usually, and they both have that characterization. So the actual afterward is kind of weird, but they use kind of, but it's still used for comedy. But sure, comedy is subjective, and I mean, I like the anime. I think the anime is really funny, but I think the premise around it is badly written. Like, so that disappoints me a lot because it doesn't make any sense. And the science is just wrong usually, wrong or badly simple. Anyway, so Smile on the Runway. Let's go to a good anime, which I feel this is. God damn it. One day I'll fix the thing. But yeah, so Smile at the Runway instead I feel it's like a really good anime coming kind of from nowhere. Smile at the Runway is an anime about fashion design, it's about a girl being too short. It's very sport anime. I keep saying it, but it's very, very sport anime. So the female main character, she's too short to be a model, right? And it feels like that reminds me of Hinamura Subo. It reminds me of Ionosora. It reminds me of basically every half of every second sport anime. The main character is too short to do sport anime, right? So she is too short to be a model, which is a true thing though, because models are usually tall and slender. Like for example, the Kohai Kokoro-chan in The Falls in Love with basically the other character, yeah. She's tall and that's the model character, right? So it's true, and then the male main character has a mom that's like terminally ill or something, and so has like cancer. It's not really defined. Also sport anime. So it's a sport anime, everyone. If you like sport anime, but I'm seriously, this anime is very, very. All the sport tropes are there. People are like, you can't do it, girl. You're too short. She's like, I will prove you wrong. So it's all the sport anime there. Dying mother, right? No one believing in them, fighting and smiling. Right? If you ever seen one of my favorite animes, Ballroom Yakuza, which I really love. Right? I love Ballroom Yakuza, one of my favorite animes. He always smiles too, right? He's always smiling when he's dancing and so on. If you ever see a sport anime, you're gonna love this anime because it's the same thing. Yeah, it's a smiling character. She's always happy. She's smiling and so on. But yeah, I think it's a great anime. One of my favorite anime this season. It's well-written main character, well-written. It's kind of like two main characters. It's funny. The comedy is there. One thing though, what I feel is a little bit in the anime is that it's kind of doing the Soma thing, where it's like, oh, you go into school, and this is the toughest school ever. It's kind of doing that thing, right? You go into the fashion school, and it's like, life or death, fight to you. Yeah, it's a little bit like that. Soma, of course, is more extreme, but they're going, like, his first week is like, you have to damn kill the other, play, with your needle. Yeah, it's kind of like that day one, and it's like, I don't think many schools would be like that, but But I like the anime. I think it's one of the better anime this season. But it's kind of fun, right? Or that's the wrong pet. No, pet. I want a dog. But there we go. Pet dog. So we also have this anime. Talk about quickly. Oda as a dog. I feel like they have done everything with Oda now. They have done Oda as an alien, Oda as a woman several times. Again, the band Oda is very popular. Oda Nobunaga. They've done, Oda in time, Oda in our time, their time, Oda in space again. Oda as a demon, very, very popular. And now they're doing Oda as a dog, right? Reborn, Isekai, Oda Nobunaga, modern time, trying to build like an empire with its dog pals. And the dogs are, of course, different generals and so on from history in Japan, or his time frame. I think it's a pretty okay anime. Not the best anime, it obviously has a weird premise, but I feel it's kind of funny, it's kind of silly, right? You laugh at it. An anime you can't take overly serious. You kind of like, yeah, I mean, it's pretty funny. You're kind of like, I mean, I enjoy it, but it's not like the best anime ever. It's just like, I mean, it works. It works, but not terribly well. I think it's an anime where you can accept for this and you laugh at it, yeah. So anyway, Haikyuu, quickly, Haikyuu of course back. One of the best sport anime ever. It looks amazing, graphically wise, right, and so on. I don't talk too much about, recurring or coming back animes. But yeah, I like it. I do feel this current beginning, though, was slightly weaker than I expected, because I feel the team was very, very opposite to. I felt it was very predictable what's going to happen in that mini arc we had. And then the mini arc kind of ended after, in my opinion, too many episodes. So I will leave it at that. But I think it was pretty good. But still, it's like, yeah, it could be faster, I think, from pacing issue. Then, of course, we have also My Academia on Saturdays, which obviously is still really good. Yeah, who cares? No, we've all about that. Anyway, then we had this anime, which I feel is really poor, and I forgot to image of it. But it's called Boku no Tonari no ni Ankoku Hakushin ga Imasu. And I can't remember the English name of it right now. A Destructive God is next to me. That is an anime that I dropped immediately after one episode. It was I couldn't even finish episode 1. It was so boring. So basically, it's the Shunryu, kids believe in they have superpowers. And this one guy, it's like, I will not react to my classmates and their ridiculous mental issues, right? And it's just so boring. And it's so unrealistic. No one talks like that. All the characters, even the main character, is supposed to be the smart character, is unrealistic and stupid. And the action doesn't make any sense. And it reminds me of last season, we also had another, Shunryu classmate thing. The second anime in a row with the first season, we have like a weird classmates of, crazy people. And they're all both of them are horrible animes. Drop it immediately. I don't know what I'm talking about more. Yeah. It's just so boring. I get beaten up in cries. I couldn't even finish episode 1. I was so bored by it. I was like, just turn it off. I was like 10 minutes in. I was like, this is incredibly boring. I was like, turn it off. Insta drop, in my opinion. Something else. Insta drop. Anyway, now we finally get to the sunlight. We're doing them by week, right? So we can finally talk about the best anime this season. And I genuinely think this is the best anime this season. If you followed my other channel and this channel, of course, and the live reaction, this is the best anime this season. Of course, it is. Interspecies Reviewers. But yeah, good point. It's just trash. Boku no Tari is just trash. Yeah, it's just absolute trash. But this anime, though, best anime this season, the ultimate ecchi trash anime instead. So, Interspecies Reviewers, of course, is a famous anime now, thanks to Funimation cancelling it. And we're not talking about that too much here. I just want to review the anime, right? But from like a cultural standpoint, the very obvious thing, right? Not saying that was their intention, but it's a Streisand effect, right? So if you cancel something, if you say that you can't look at my house, right? Barbara Streisand, right? She wanted to ban her house photos, right? People took photos of her house, some paparazzi on some website. She wanted to ban that and copyright that and remove it, right? And of course, everyone looked at her house, right? Yeah, so you increased the likelihood. Everyone was like, that's super funny, I have to see it now, right? So it's that sort of effect. For example, yesterday or 2 weeks ago, we had that SARS commercial, Swedish company, Scandinavian company, about how there's no culture in Scandinavia. There's no culture. Yeah, they hate themselves. Yeah, very weird commercial. It got ratio like 75 was 1, hated most thing ever, and then they removed it, right? Yeah, and by removing it and then pretending it never happened, more people wanna see it. Everyone is like, what was that video? Everyone's like, shit, what is it? Yeah, so of course Because if you tell people you can't watch stuff, they get more interested, right? So of course, this anime, from like a meta standpoint now, it's incredibly popular because Funimation is like, we have to cancel this shit. It's too sexy. We have to cancel it, right? And the same in Japan, they're canceling it on some networks there. Of course, more people are gonna be like, where is it? Where's the hentai? Of course, everyone's gonna be like, holy shit, they're banning this hentai? It has to be the dirtiest hentai ever. I have to see it, right? It has to be the craziest, sexiest stuff ever in history of mankind. We have to see it, yeah. So of course, the meta knowledge increased in anime popularity. But anyway, let's talk about the actual anime, because I do think this is like the best anime. From a comedy standpoint, I am laughing the most for this anime. By far, this is the anime that makes me laugh the most. As I mentioned earlier, my number 2 anime in comedy today would be Idol Show, this season. So, Interspecies Reviewers, I think, is so beautiful in many aspects. First of all, it really has that we're censoring any sexy stuff, but we're still showing it. So, for example, we have the salamander scene where they're like putting meat on her, her stuff, right? And then they're removing said meat and showing the meat to the camera. So the camera is like showing you how she looks, but not how she looks, so they can don't have so they kind of escaping the censorship. That kind of stuff. I'm just like, oh yeah, this is good writing. This is good writing. But generally, the anime really takes and embodies classic old school animes. When it comes to the anime, it really takes the animes like Hyena Girl, right, being a futanari, as I said it's gonna be. I immediately said it when I saw the opening. I was like, there's gonna be a futa dick on that hyena. I said it immediately, right, when I saw the opening episode 1. And this anime really, incorporates old school hentai, old school anime, and animes that used to be a little more brutal. Like about Kite, talk about the video. Kite, classic old anime from the 90s about a girl being forced to be like an assassin and like a sex slave and so on, right, and stuff like that. That's how most, I would say most, but that was much more into old school animes, right? When I was a kid, stuff like Berserk and so on, that was anime, right? Yeah, stuff was much more brutal, it was much more, much more sex in it, it was more actually showing the stuff, right, and so on. Today, animes are much more tame than they used to be. Anime is much more mainstream today. Companies noted, the manga as well and so on. It used to be way more sexy, right, and way more brutal in all regards. For example, Goblin Slayer looks like very puny to Berserk. Yeah, it's like Berserk on super tiny Berserk. Yeah, so this anime really incorporates again that old school stuff, because if you look at hentai, stop hentai, right? Hentai from the 90s and early 2000s, the Eros manga basically, right? The Eros manga companies. You have stuff like Bondage Fairy, as I mentioned, right? You have like a Silky Whip from Great. You have stuff like Hot Tales, Fusunaris. Every Hot Tales, right? Yeah, Hot Tales is a futanari, I guess 2 dicks and so on. Yeah, it's like that is Hot Tales, right? So these old school hentais that were like the classic hentai from again the 90s mainly and early 2000s, they were all like this anime, right? And that this anime really incorporates again then this old stuff where it's like gender bender, it's futanari, it's it's all this stuff that what hentai used to be. Today hentai and also ecchi in that sense is much more casual and mainstream. Right? Hentai today, course, also keeps having this futanari and gender bender and so on, all that stuff, right? But still, though, hentai today is much more also normal, girl, boy, love story, yeah, so on, right? Who wanna read that shit? Yeah, but I mean, it's much more like that, right? The more just casual romance stuff, right? Not saying again that this other furry stuff and futanari and so on doesn't exist. Futanari is probably the most popular genre, I think, in hentai, or at least one of them, number 3, top 3 it is, and otherwise probably like Milf, Shota. Don't say that word, yeah, don't say that word. Man, I love the content here, yeah. So we have that stuff, right? But this anime then is focusing so much on the old school stuff again, because I don't know how to really explain it, right? But in this old hentai, as I mentioned, like Hot Tales, for example, everyone is a futanari. It's like a main cast of futanari, and she sleeps with different girls, then she meets another futanari. It's like, you also have futanari, oh my god! It's like all that, and then meets a guy with 2 dicks and so on. That was like the classic kind of hentai that was the hentai back in the Bondage Fairy. Everything is just beasts, yeah, weird stuff and so on, furry everything and so on, yeah. That used to be it, right? Blue dog and so on, yeah. That's how it used to be. And then hentai got a lot more tame, and it got more like mainstream, and it's more normal storylines. And for example, yaoi, boy love, popular genre, of course, very, very popular. Boy love, I would say, in the old days, was also much more like, again, gender bender, or like futanari on male, and so on, right? Like the old school hentais were also more, still futanari and that stuff, right? So this anime again then really incorporates these like much more old tropes, right? That we don't see that much in the current animes or manga and so on, or gaming, whatever, right? And that's like important. For example, I talked about it in the video, but like for example, the Konosuba movie, right? The Konosuba movie, Crimson, where Kazuma is afraid of futanari, right? Kazuma is like, oh shit, he's a futanari, and Kazuma being very gender savvy, right? Being very much, because of course in Konosuba they have a lot of hentai jokes. Right? He's like, oh shit, a futanari, and I'm a man. Oh, she's gonna F me so hard, I have to run away, right there. So those kind of old school 90s and early 2000 manga anime and so on, and of course modern hentai and so on, is very important for the modern writers and so on, right? Especially the comedy writers. They're kind of trying to make it. But let's say Konosuba was much more on the edge, right? With darkness and so on as well, yeah. So again, this anime has all that tentacle stuff, so it has all that stuff that we grew up with, but don't really see that much anymore. And then the writing around that is really intelligent. So I really do think this anime is very, very intelligent writing, because it really incorporates all that good stuff, right? That was used to be with animes. Well, and again, if you look at old animes like Urodoski, Kita, and so on, which used to be, when I was a kid, that was anime you watched. Oh, that's anime too, yeah. There was 18 plus animes. You watched them and you're like, yeah, it's brutal. But that was anime to you. Today, when I see anime, I'm like, what happened to all the brutal animes? What happened to all the animes where people got killed and maimed, this thing happened, and then the sex, and it wasn't a hentai because they had, they had a lot of action. They also had sex scenes. It's more like watching an action, typical, a R-rated movie, because they have action scenes and they have the sex scenes too, right? That was anime. I feel half the anime used to be like, and also for that matter, like the old school harem shows, they just showed the stuff. Yeah, they wouldn't be like, oh, I walked in and saw the girl showing her bra. It's like I walked in and saw the girls, open poop. Yeah, that kind of stuff, right? It was like we saw this stuff much more. So it definitely is more tame now, and this anime, it's like a counter thing to it, but still perfectly sliding that the edge, right, to not really go too far. So yeah, I feel it's very intelligent written. It's really a masterpiece, I feel. And of course, everything with the controversy makes it funnier. Yeah, it makes it funnier. It makes it funnier. Anniversary. Maybe coming to this to the closing points here soon. Then we have the Inspector, which I feel is okay. I feel indifferent about anime, so let's go on. I would say it's also on Saturdays. I feel it is okay to me, in my opinion. It's early Sundays. One Piece Sundays keeps being decent. I want to talk about 3 animes left here, which is Invaded. Let me just find the image of Invaded here. Here we go. I was talking about Invaded, I'm talking about Dorhedoro, and lastly, Isekai. So Invaded, thriller kind of anime. I feel it's pretty good. It is not the best anime I feel this season. I think actually it's overrated in my opinion. I'm not saying again that it's horrible, but I think there are... it's kind of like a mediocre thriller suspense anime. So basically, the main character jumps into people's minds. Let's call it minds to make it easy to understand. And then he kind of plays a game in their mind, like a detective who killed Karu in this game. And when he solves that, he managed to figure out stuff about them in real life, basically. And he's trying to jump into serial killers' brains to figure out where they're hiding or where their victim is, something like that. And at the same time, we see this detective, the Criminal Minds crew, trying to sort out what's happening in real life and so on. And the main character is in prison and killing people in prison, which is the best part of the anime. I think the anime is pretty okay. I think the anime has some issues though, which is mainly that while I like the premise and I like the general setting of it and so on, it's a lot of dead times anime. For example, they have this detective crew, right? It's 10 cops or whatever, and they keep showing them their reaction faces, which is he found that thing. So basically, they have no reaction face. They show these characters for a 2-3 minute per episode, and it's so clearly to pad out the episode, right? It's so clear that let's pad out the episode, but showing everyone's face. It's it's there for 2-3 minutes. Every episode, if you actually cook it, yeah. So it's very obvious bad pacing or bad padding every episode, and it's a lot of dead time when they use exposition stuff we already know and so on. So I feel the anime, I like, for example, I don't want to spoil it here, but it was this mother backstory of a character, her mother's backstory, that was really well written. So I feel that is a good writing generally, a good you know, like the general premise and the storyline of the characters and the murders or the serial killers, I feel it's really good. But I feel that how it's actually produced and the work around it, it's pretty mediocre, even bad sometimes. Like for example, we have the scene when they visit this person's home, and it's very obvious what's going to happen because basically it's called plantation. So plantation is when you show something in a movie or a book or whatever, right? And you show it so frequently, it's too much. So basically, let's say this remote here would be the weapon to kill someone, right? You might then show the remote in the background like this, right, all the time during the movie. It might be like that, like so you can see it all the time, and I talk and I go back and you see it, and that makes you internally, you know that okay, this thing exists in the background. This might be used as a weapon right there. So that's called plantation, like a dramaturgy plantation, where you show like a knife. Someone enters a kitchen in like a drama or like a Law and Order. Yeah, you show the knife on the stage. You show the knife several times with the camera when it's panning over the knife. You kind of maybe zoom in on the knife to really tell you about the knife. Then you know knife will be used, right? So kind of like that, right? And that is not necessary in a storytelling, but it's very common. So you can keep like, so the viewer can know what's happening, so right. And in a book, you can maybe you tell them about this stuff, so right. In a detective book, you tell them about who could be the murderer, blah, blah, so it's, yeah. But in this anime, then that is used excessively, too much. It should probably be used in a thriller drama, an anime, but they use it too much. So it's like a scene. I wanna spoil it, but it's a scene where they're showing a door like 55 times in a row. They're talking, and the door is constantly behind them, and then the camera pans, and the door is behind them, and the door's behind them, and you know that this guy's hiding somewhere, probably in his house, and like, he's probably behind that door. And then the camera passes the kitchen, and there's and so on, and there's no knife in that, the knife drawer thing. So it's like, he probably has a knife behind that door. And he has. So spoiler about that. It's just so predictable. You watch the anime and it's like, oh my god, this is gonna happen. This is clearly gonna happen because why are they keep showing this door for like 10 minutes now? It's like every damn angle, the door is always in focus. It's gonna be behind the door or about the door in he's gonna be at least in that direction, clearly, because they keep showing it constantly. So it's like, I think good writing generally, but like bad produced, how it does, yeah. Anyway, keep half as you can. It's a really cool anime. This is one of the best anime of the season. Of course, a very different anime about 3 young girls making their own anime studio. So it has a little bit of the Shirobako, how to make anime, how to make this clipboard and so on. Right? It has a bit of production value. But generally, it's just like a cool anime where they are making their own anime, and then they have this like imaginary setting where they're like, oh, what if we build a mecha and we draw this mecha anime? And then we kind of see them like riding in the mecha and they're fighting something, and it's really cool. So they kind of go from this interesting kind of weird world they're living in setting, kind of like a dystopian a little bit, but not really something issued city. And then suddenly they're in this like super awesome drawn, fighting mecha war or something, or desert fighting and stuff like that. It's a very cool anime, and at the same time, the actual drawing is very, very high quality, but it sometimes has like a notebook kind of detail, where it's like black and white, kind of like a child would draw it, but it's like really well drawn. Yeah, so it's like a really weird anime where it's like, it feels like I'm watching, like myself, a 6-year-old, drawings coming to life. Yeah, and they're coming to life really well done. So I think this anime is it's a very strong anime, definitely one of the best anime this season. But it's kind of a weird anime. It's kind of hard to explain. I really like Komamori-kun. She's definitely the best girl. Love her personality. She's kind of the angry producer. She's like, get to work and stop fantasizing. It's like, how can you make money on this? Yeah, I love her. Just threatening people and so on. I think she's half the comedy. It's super funny. Then the other two is kind of like classic, eccentric, artist people. And she's like, oh, I hate you so much. I think one reason why I like the anime because I feel so relatable to her, because while I am incredibly, I would say, self-brag, creative person, what usually happens though, when I'm not being creative at the office, when I work with people, is that I am the one trying to kind of rein in, to actually still live in the real world here. Yes, be creative over there, Mr. Artist, but you have to finish it today or tomorrow, whatever, that deadline, yeah. Until they kind of order some guy that makes sure people actually do it on time and so on. And if you can't do it on time, they will take the second best thing we have, because we have to do it today and so on, right? So I'm still having that in the back of my mind. I think that's one of my best skills myself, that I'm creative, but also in living in the order sum of a system. So I think I have to say I feel biased because when I see again, I really love her character because I see myself so much in her. But she's always like, and I think they make it, but the anime makes it so good too because her body language is so well done. She's like, so she does all this like really well, you know, this thing. It feels very simple, but I think it's really well done. There's one scene where she stands with her hands. You can't do this thing, right? You do this thing and stand with your hand, yeah, a little bit that. So it's like, oh yeah. So you really feel how she's like, I can't even have my arm. Yeah, you really feel how she's disappointed in them. I think the anime really encapsulates the disappointment look with her all the time. Like, yeah, then she's like, you know, yeah, so that thing, for me at least, it's incredibly. I laugh at it all the time. But I do think, honestly, because I see myself as a mirror in the anime. I mean, that is me every damn day. That's me every Friday. But I'm like, you're not finished yet? Like, how can you never follow stuff? Yeah. Anyway, the last anime day, and not the least anime, the craziest anime, Dora Hedoro, not head, but Hedoro, even though there are heads all the time in the anime. So last anime here to talk about, definitely recommend it. An anime that I feel is I don't think it's underrated that much. It's a pretty popular anime, but still, I guess to some degree under the radar. It's a very weird anime, and I would say this thing immediately. To be honest here, I didn't love the anime in the beginning. I was like, this is kind of weird. This is kind of hen, and I mean hen is weird. Hen means weird. Right? It is kind of weird. Hen weird. Yeah, I don't really like. Yeah, but the more I see the anime, the more the antics of the characters really stuck on me, right? And the more I watch the anime, especially this episode, I'm just laughing at it constantly. It's like a really funny anime. It's a weird, funny anime. They kill this taxi driver, and they're like, "Oh, can't drive!" I'm just laughing at it. I'm just there laughing my ass out. It's like someone who's murdered someone, and I'm like, "Yeah, he died!" It's super funny, yeah. So it's a very weird anime, I feel, because it makes the comedy. It makes comedy from these weird scenes, right? It makes comedy happen from these very special moments, right? And so on. So very interesting anime in a sense. I think that's a good thing to really point out here, because I think it's true though. I saw it with a few friends, right, into the anime, and everyone is kind of like, it's kind of weird. So I think people, just like me, I had, in a similar way, feel a little bit the first hour, you're kind of like, what am I watching here? Yeah, but then you get into it. So I think it's an anime in a similar to some other that I mentioned earlier, where the more you watch it, like Gakuen and also Idols, the more you watch it, the more you like it, the more it grows on you, the more the characters are funny and the fights are kind of funny. And then, for example, Ebisu is this character, it's a little girl that's like keeps dying all the time in the background, or she gets like injured and dies, or she half dies, and that is like super funny after like 3 episodes, like an ongoing joke, she's getting killed in the background, and they're like, oh, she's dying, see her, god damn, it's kind of like Ken, you know, I got kill this week, yeah, it's kind of like that. So that's really funny. But the general premise then is just hard to explain. It's like basically a guy with a lizard head, Kaiman, or not his real name probably, trying to figure out who made him into a lizard with his best friend, the chef Nikaido. That's a cool fight with her. And she's like a really cool character as well. And they're living in this hole that are all humans, and humans are like experimented on by magic sorcerer people, and then they come and attack them and make them to bugs and so on. And it's like a weird thing how humans are trying to survive this like horror of magic in this whole thing. And it's like zombie days sometimes and so on. Yeah, so it's hard being a human, and every damn sorcerer is like the horror bad guy. Yeah, Pinhead and so on. Yeah, every damn sorcerer guy is like a weird, you know, it's a guy from a horror movie basically with weird powers. Yeah, and it is very. The main story, I wouldn't say it's confusing, but it's very much like, okay, that happened. It's like, it's not really confusing, it's more like questionable. You kind of like, I don't really know where this is going. I mean, you understand what's happening, but you, at the same time, you're like, yeah, this is probably going to be explained later on, I suppose, how that worked, how the bug thing, how can he do that thing? So, it's a lot of moments where he's like, I don't know, his inner human come out from his mouth, and it explodes, and he has 3 heads, and someone sees the head, sees himself or something, and it's just weird, right? It's very weird, yeah. Like, he has this inner human inside of him, which is probably his true self, and he speaks to the people he swallows to get information, and then that can come out, and he protects himself, and he's probably sick in the episode because they have his other body, and it's just weird. I mean, so much. It's just weird. The main story I feel is just like it's interesting. You keep seeing it to be try to figure out stuff, but it's not confusing. I don't think it is confusing at all. It's more like perplexing, I suppose, a perplexing storyline where it's like you understand what's happening, but you don't understand currently what it means, right? So it's perplexing. It's like currently I've seen half the season, I suppose now, and I feel I have a lot of information. And I understand the information I have, right? I'm kind of like, I understand all these pieces here, but I don't really know how they come in together. I mean, I have my own theories, I want to spoil it, I want to say them here. So in that thing, I think it's good too, because it's not very predictable. I mean, I don't know yet, but it doesn't feel predictable in a sense. I think I managed to predict, though, what power Nikai will have, though, is a time power. I think so, because it's like a very... That's what I meant earlier with Invaded, right? Because when the bad guy is like, I really want time power... Then she's shown, it's like, and she has like a secret power. So I don't want to spoil too much, but I mean, that hasn't happened in the anime yet. But I just assuming that's the case because, that's plantation, right? One character mentioned X power, the other character is shown, the other character has like a secret power, a fourth character is like, wow, this specific power, interesting, that's a cool power. Let's say what power this one, right? So it's very hinted that it's some kind of like massive godlike power, like time power. So in that sense, that's my guess. I don't know if it's true or not, so I wouldn't call it spoiler because it hasn't happened in the anime. But I think that's like a typical thing, though, unfortunately, I suppose. Or I mean, you could argue that's a good thing, right? Because it's like it's hinting, right? So yeah, so in that anime, that's a good point. I think in Dorohedoro, it works because it's like I am probably correct that it's time, but I don't know yet, and I'm not really sure because the perplexing storyline. When I was Invaded, I'm like, okay, I know exactly what he's gonna be. I know exactly who is the murderer of this thing. I know exactly what's gonna happen here. That's kind of how I feel Invaded is, to some degree, because of its in that plantation scene, where he showed the thing way too much. And of course, Darwin Game is the word. Darwin Game is like predictable, insanely predictable. But I think because Darwin Game is also so tropey, right? Darwin Game is also similar to that, but they also have the tropes. So you know that. Well, of course she's gonna fall in love with him because she's the only female character, so she's gonna fall in love with him. Yeah, like you have that kind of issue, right? It's kind of like have you seen the new Birds of Prey movie? I won't spoil it here, but it's an obvious like issue, right, in Birds of Prey where Harley Quinn can beat up like 50 cops, right, or 50 criminals alone, right, or they call like one at a time, and then she fights like a drunken, new introduced female character then, which is really drunk. And this fight suddenly is like really hard for her. Like it doesn't make any sense. Well, it only makes sense from like a narrative standpoint that she's fighting one of the Birds of Prey, female main characters. But it doesn't make any sense from like an actual logical standpoint, where she could beat like 55 cops with weapons before, but she can't defeat like a really really drunk, tiny lady. She can't defeat her because she's like a lady, right? Yeah. So because her name is because she's a named character, right? It's kind of like you play these old role-playing games like Text Ogre and so on, Ogre Bath and so on. When you have several different characters in the game that are playable. Like you have warriors, you have knights, so on, they're playable. Then you have specific guys that's like Gilbert the Knight, who's like an extra strong knight. It's kind of like that pattern, design pattern is called named character. So it's the same class, same abilities as the other knight, but it's like a Gilbert the Knight, so it's a much better knight, right? It's kind of like a Fire Emblem where every character is a named character, and the enemies have like 10 times the army, but they're just like rogue. They're like this Petra the rogue. They're like rogue, so they're way weaker, right? Because they don't have like the specific abilities and so on. Yeah. That's kind of like in Harley Quinn. She fits this guy and it's like, oh, it's just, of course she can't defeat this other character because she has an actual name, yeah, because it's a named character. That definitely is how like Darwin Game and I feel Invaded are this season, where it's like, well, of course they can't capture this person, or of course this person can avoid the bullets in Darwin Game because she has a name or she's in an opening. So yeah, it's like for example, I want to spoil Darwin's Game, but if you watch the opening in Darwin's Game, there's no florist. So, he's probably gonna die because like there's no florist. If he's not in the opening, he's probably gonna die, right? Like why? Yeah. So it's kind of like actually reminds me back to Harley Quinn here. If you've seen Suicide Squad, and I feel I can spoil Suicide Squad here because that's an old movie right today. Suicide Squad has one of the worst examples, or I guess best examples, of really bad dramaturgy. Showcasing of characters. It's an absurd scene in Suicide Squad. So in Suicide Squad, you have, it's Will Smith as Deadshot, right? You have the different Harley so yeah. You have the different, the characters, right? And every character in Suicide Squad has their own little backstory, or like an introduction page where they're like, yeah, this guy can breathe fire, this guy's like a lizard or something, and this girl has a katana that eats souls, which I didn't mention later, yeah. But all of these characters, it's like a wizard magic and so on. They have like, they have their backstory. It's introduced how they got their powers. Oh, she found this thing and broke it and got like obsessed, yeah. They're explaining that stuff, and then again, spoilers, very minor spoilers. Then Slipknot appears. Okay, Slipknot, he has like a rope fight in like Pauli in One Piece, yeah. And Slipknot appears in the Suicide Squad, and you immediately know he's gonna die because every other character in the movie had their own introduction. This is my childhood, my backstory, yeah. And then suddenly there's like one more member. There's like, this guy has Slipknot. He can fight with ropes. And it's like, hey, why didn't he have like he didn't get one of those introduction scenes? Why? And then, they're like, well, if you betray us, we will kill you with this bomb in your head. And the other bombs, yeah. And then he caught it and he dies, yeah. And it's like, that's a really bad scene. I mean, I think that scene is horrible, right? That's like one of the reasons where you see, yeah, it's like, if every character except the last character gets their own introduction or opening sequence, it's like, well, then that character will probably die. Because why else would they not have their own introduction or scene? So it's really bad done, right? There's absolutely no surprise he's gonna die because, well, everyone else had it, so he's gonna die, right? And I think that, for example, Darwin's game opening is really bad because it shows you. So if you're gonna watch the anime, don't watch the opening because it shows you the characters that are gonna obviously befriend the main character. He's walking with his party, right? And it's a really drama anime, and we still haven't even seen him getting that whole party. But it's very obvious that party in Darwin's game's opening is gonna join his party because why else are they in his party in the opening, right? And at the same time, the characters are not in the opening in the party are probably gonna die because they're not in the opening. They're not gonna be important enough. So you can figure out who's gonna die in next episode probably in Darwin's game because they are not in the opening. And it's like, man, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. And I mean, I'm not a super anti, opening thing, but this is so obvious. It's like, oh my god, that is not, it's not a good opening. Not a good opening. I can say this thing though, completely random here, it's an old anime. I have my last note here. Very old anime, classic scene. If you ever watch Yuna Tyson, right, the Zodiac Wars, which also is a battle royale, it basically is, Darwin's game. 12 people, they fight in this like battle royale. They have one power, it's like necromancer, or I don't know. I don't have to reload. That's the weirdest power ever. Bird control and so on. So they're fighting in a battle royale, right? And also it's much better than Darwin's game. I think it's a much better anime than Darwin's game, in my opinion. And very good opening and ending for that matter. But not to reference here of the genre, but if you watch the ending of Yuna Tyson, and don't watch the ending of Yuna Tyson. In Yuna Tyson, this is spoiler. In Yuna Tyson's ending, they show exactly every death scene. It's like the worst ending ever. Like the ending literally shows you exactly the order the characters will die. It's like exactly that order. You watch the ending, it's like this character, then her, then him, then her, then her, then him. It's exactly the order of how they die in the anime in the ending. It's really ridiculous. And the thing is that the first time you see the ending, you're like, oh, here's a character playing with monkeys or having a good time with their family. So the actual scenes aren't like, showing the death, but showing like the order of death perfectly, yeah. So you watch the ending, like, that's a pretty cool ending. And then you see a few episodes, like, that ending is very similar to how the episode is, right? Yeah. And then you remember the ending and you're like, oh, wait a minute. I know exactly the order of the character's death now because I've seen the ending once before. So the ending spoils for you ridiculously. That's a good, similar that, yeah. Very similar to Darwin's game and also has a very spoiling, well, also opening, but that's the ending. It's ridiculous. But I think it's same thing in Darwin game. Darwin games, I would be incredibly surprised if that character that I've been saying there for a few weeks now will die because he's not in the opening. So, you know how it is. That's how some animes are, right? Yeah, it's just like, no, but it's a bad thing with horror games, right? The horror games and anime. You don't really want to show stuff in the opening there too much, as they are very like, more mystery. Yeah, who's gonna die? Yeah, more mystery. But anyway, that is the drop or not for winter 2020. I probably missed a few animes. I didn't really go into like some of the music animes, like I don't know what's it called now again. A3 Season Spring, Backside Pass. Yeah, I don't care too much about the music animes and some of the Konosuba shows, but I covered most of them. And I do definitely think that this is a weaker season, right? In general, I think this is a little weaker. I think it's a lot of droppable animes. And I'm happy, honestly, from a personal standpoint, that I immediately decided to, if these animes aren't up to par, I'm gonna drop them instead of just watching like 10 episodes and be like, I have to see the final now, yeah. But I also think that with animes like Plunderer and Dendrogram, it's so easy to drop them because they're so horrible. I think they're really horrible. Yeah, I was like, man, I'm dropping them immediately. Yeah, or like that Boki no Tari. Yeah, super trash. Didn't enjoy it for a second. Horrible anime. But anyway, press like button, press like button. As I mentioned earlier, of course, today we're gonna live react to Somali. I was like, oh, there it is! Somali, and also, of course, Idol show. Yeah, if my idol will go to. And actually, again, I love this show. I think it's one of the best of the season. It's my number 2 of comedy. A very underrated anime, and I think it's super funny. We'll see. Definitely, don't give it a chance. Yeah, the Idol show. It's very, 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 very funny, and has some interesting, drama and characters and so on. For sure. So